Hello, I'm Yvar Bregeant, author of the literary series entitled The True History of the Religions of Mankind. The following video is taken from Book 2 of my Volume 2, entitled From God to the Creation of Adam. You can buy it at the link I gave you in the comments. I've also given you the link to read this article on my website, giving you access to the full bibliography and references. To support me in disseminating my research, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and my Facebook page. And don't miss out on my book entitled From God to the Creation of Adam, from which this video is taken. Satan, the hidden god of the Sumerians and Egyptians. This title probably sounds like a fabrication, not to say a provocation, doesn't it? What does this being of the Judeo-Christian world have to do with the Sumerians and Egyptians? Even though you may believe that the elites have told you the truth, the whole truth, for a brief moment, just for a second, abandon your prejudices, along with everything you've been taught. Didn't Champollion tell his brother that he had discovered things that had to be kept under wraps? This is what, by the grace of God and the Spirit He gives me, I shall endeavor to reveal to you in its entirety. This brief extract from my book entitled From God to the Creation of Adam gives you the Sumerian and hieroglyphic etymology of his name, proving that their religious elites knew him perfectly well. Even if this extract is just a starting point, because there is so much to tell you, just read it and then follow me, please, in the whole Volume 2, which I believe in all humility will be the greatest sacred revelation of this century. The Etymology of Satan. If you turn to the common etymologies of the name Satan, here's what you'll more or less find. The name Satan first appears in the Hebrew Bible, in Hebrew Shatan, Shatan. The meaning of the root htn can only be determined from its occurrences in the biblical text. Its meaning seems to be an adversary or to accuse, with the nuance of to defame. Attempts have been made to link it to known roots on the assumption that the final letter noun was not part of the root. These attempts propose linking Shaitan to Semitic roots with a weak letter such as hth to deviate, betray, or swt to depart. For Daniel E. Gershenson, there is a strong possibility that the name Satan comes from Greek and its etymology would be Titan, i.e., he who dwells in the heavens. But these interpretations only scratch the surface. To truly understand the complex and multifaceted nature of this name, we must delve deeper into the realms of hieroglyphic and Sumerian languages. Stay with us as we unravel these ancient mysteries. The known etymology of Satan. Unfortunately, this etymology is very incomplete and very poor. To understand the deep and polysemous meaning of his name, it is in fact particularly essential to turn to hieroglyphic and Sumerian, which have preserved the memory of the reasons why this name was given to him. You'll find that you won't find all the explanations that follow anywhere else, and that they are in themselves a real discovery, even if they are, I assure you, really nothing compared to everything that will be said and demonstrated. This is just a starting point, which should enable you to imagine all that this volume has to offer. And while the etymological analysis of his name that follows is, as you will see, perhaps a little long to be placed here as an introduction, it will, I believe, nevertheless, have two major merits. The first is to enable you to realize straight away that it is objectively unreasonable to think for a moment that the Egyptian and Sumerian religious elites knew neither its existence nor its name, and that their only evil serpent was Apophis. And to begin to understand that Satan was clearly involved in this religion, which was shrouded in darkness and sacred mysteries. Mysteries that I'm going to unveil in this huge volume. Hieroglyphic etymology. First of all, let's take a look at the hieroglyphic etymology of its name. A resolute opponent, an aggressor, an attacker who causes massacre, carnage, terror. In hieroglyphic, Satan means an opponent because his name is based in part on the root itn or itn to oppose, itnw or itnw is an adversary, an enemy, making him by Satan the one who subjugates, subdues, and coerces. It is also someone who humiliates Sid, built on id or adw or at, which designate an aggressor, an attacker. Since the D and T are a common betacism in hieroglyphics, sud, asad, das asat basically refers to an aggressor or attacker. Moreover, sat is a knife, a carnage, a massacre, a terror. So the conjunction sat, sad, sid plus itn conveys the imagery of an opponent, an aggressor, an attacker who causes carnage, massacre, and terror. We might add that in Arabic, Satan is spelt as shaitan in Arabic and pronounced shaitan, 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 shaitan. Now, if we look at logograms like sh, shha, or xa, esch means to terrorize, shay means hostility, and anyone who confuses it. Shdn or shtn, because of the dt betacism, means to thwart, to anger. Xaa is someone who is resolute and determined to xa thwart or oppose, resulting in xate or xat, a massacre, carnage, a heap of corpses. In this form too then, shil/shay xa corresponding to the transliterated Arabic she/she/che/shay, we find strictly the same meanings as with sat, sasad, asid, namely the image of a firmly resolved hostile opponent who terrorizes and causes a massacre, as in say-ttan. Opposition is doubly conveyed in the word che-ttan by the addition of the logogram itn to oppose. etnw or itnw is an adversary, an enemy. A destroyer, an exterminator, an insulter and slanderer. This massacre, this carnage takes place because Satan is also by shem, shamnu, or shtan. Given that min can sometimes be substituted in the suffix position, a destroyer, an exterminator. Sd or st, by betacism dt, designates the fact of breaking, shattering. If this idea of hostility, of being quarrelsome, is also conveyed by stam or stn, given that m/n can sometimes be substituted in suffix position. I find it interesting to add that it also conveys the fact of insulting, of slandering, because in Arabic, shatam, shatama has the meaning of insulting. This brings us back to the meaning of the devil, which designates a slanderer. A being who has departed into darkness. Satan also carries the idea of someone who has turned away, who has strayed, based on the root tnm or tn, given that nm is equivalent to n, associated with tnmw, darkness and gloom. The word tnbx, which means to turn away, deviate or go astray, contains the logogram tn, a potential component of Satan's name. A founding father at the origin of the world. Satan also refers to the fact that he is a founding father. In fact, sti designates someone who begets, fertilizes a seed, a posterity, ssdn, stn, from the betacism dt, someone who bears a child. Sit is also foundations, a throne, snt/stn, from the inversion of type I am, someone who founds, fashions who makes SNTT foundations, plans. An old man, a senior citizen, associated with decay. The root tni also carries the meaning of an old man, an elder, which is in line with the meaning of add to rot, to putrefy, to degrade, add being associated with the logograms id or adw, or at which we saw in the previous section, under the opponent, the aggressor. In the course of this volume, we'll have a chance to see that decay is closely associated with the father of the gods, who is considered to be an old man, and why. A being who has distinguished himself, promoted himself, elevated himself, self-deified himself. The root tani has the meaning of someone who is distinguished, promoted, or elevated. TNW denotes superiority, distinction. This is in phase with the hieroglyph STWA, which means one who raises, lifts. Thus, the conjunction of these two logograms in the form STWA, TNI, for example, conveys the double idea, accentuated as one who has been elevated, promoted, distinguished. All words associated with divinity, since the fact of being elevated or put on high is one of the meanings of deification, in this case, and in the case of Satan, self-deification. Indirectly associated with the prudence of the Serpent of Eden and the wisdom of the Cherub of Wisdom. Satan is also associated with prudence and wisdom. This is quite logical, since it is thus associated with the snake, which in Eden was an animal considered to be the most cautious beast on earth, especially as CTW refers to the earth, the ground on which the snake was condemned to crawl after its sin. Satan was also, as we shall see, probably the Cherub of Wisdom before his rebellion. It is also not for nothing that Sata designates a snake, literally being Say the son of Ta the earth, that Saa means to be wise or the wise, or that the action of crawling Sai is associated with Sai wisdom. A hidden being associated with secrecy, mystery, and concealment. Its name also evokes secrecy and mystery. In fact, stay has the meaning of mysterious, secret, hidden, difficult, by sta and stay of religious mysteries. Stet are secrets. SSTA, with the causative S placed in front, has the meaning of making secret, mysterious, making inaccessible, of secret, mystery. Note that even itw or itw, which we have already mentioned as being an adversary, an enemy also has the meaning of secret, mystery. Bear in mind that the inversion sta to sat is possible in hieroglyphics, on the basis, for example, of the equivalence observed between I am and IMA the tree, so that the conjunction of the two logograms sat, itnw, doubly and unquestionably evokes a hidden being, mysterious, secret, and a source of mystery. Further back, the logograms SDX and SDG show that the action of hiding, dissimulating, is attached to the root logogram SD or ST with the betacism DT. A being who hides and/or is hidden by a garment, a veil, and who drags, pulls as if with ropes. In this connection, I would also draw your attention to the fact that ST also means to be clothed, an idea found in SND, a garment, or SND, a garment for an idol. STN, by inversion SND, SDN, and betacism of the DD type with T/T, will then mean one who is clothed, or who puts on, a garment for an idol with, in particular, the idea of remaining hidden. This analysis is supported by the fact that SATA or STA designates the action of weaving, spinning, a garment, with the double meaning of dragging, taking away. This brings us back to the double symbolism we shall see of the spinner and the person who ties with ropes, with the spider as the emblematic animal symbol. Concerning the action of spinning to weave a garment, stam is the causative verb of tam, which means to veil oneself. Thus, stam is the person who veils himself or herself. Now, given that m, n can sometimes be substituted in the suffix position, saren therefore has the meaning of one who is veiled, hidden. The action of dragging, of taking away conveyed by seta or sta is supported by the logogram sti, which refers to a harpooner, who throws, launches, pulls, and stit, which, like sta, means to drag, to pull. A being who sets fire, symbol of the rebel and god of war. It should also be noted that Satan also carries with him the idea of the one who ignites, sets on fire, which, as we shall see, is a symbolic allegory of rebellion and the god of war. In fact, sti also means to kindle, stay to heat, to kindle. And if we bear in mind that ta means an oven, Egypt, but also the earth, the terrestrial world, then the root, sta of Satan, also means the one who set the earth on fire in its symbolic sense of rebellion and warmonger. And if we want to stick to the current climate, we could even add in its literal sense. A little further back, we can also cite SNDNDN, which means to ignite and also to incite. which combines the two concepts we have already seen of setting fire and attaching, training and pulling. Sumerian etymology. Let's take a look at the probable Sumerian etymology of his name. With regard to its Sumerian etymology, the name can be broken down into Sha, Sa, Tan, or even Ush, Shu, Tan. As far as the meaning of Tan is concerned, it refers to a person Ta from heaven, to be compared with the hieroglyphic meaning of one who has risen to heaven, self-deified, and which is found in the Greek meaning given to the name Titan. As for the logograms Sha, Sa, we shall see how symbolically charged they are in Sumerian. In Adam's Semitico-Hebrew analysis, we will see that the logogram pair Sa, Sha alone, because She 4, Eshi 13, Su 9, means red ochre, and its equivalent Sa 11, Si 4, Su 4, red, or Sa 5, red-brown, are enough to designate him as the Red Father. That's where the devil also gets his red image from. What's more, his 12 is a leader, an individual of the first order or first class. Another correspondence is therefore also with the logograms Ush-Shu coupled with Tan. What leads me to conclude that Ush-Shu are also directly associated with it is the fact that in Sumerian, the term dragon, which we know to be an eminently symbolic figure of the devil, is called Ushum, Ushu. The associated term Ushumgal also means the great dragon and the lord of all things, the sovereign. If we look at the meanings of Ush-Shu, we see that Ush or Us in the nominative mean a foundation, and in its verbal sense, to support, to lift up, to stand on. Similarly, Uh means a place of foundation, a base. Uh means death and killing. Shu2 refers to the act of overturning, knocking down, falling, making dark, becoming dark and covering with shadow. Through the equivalence we noted above between Su9 and Eshe4, Eshe13, for red ochre, and between Su4 and Sa11, Si4, for red, the pair of logograms Ush-Shu, given the betacism Sh already noted, therefore also makes this great dragon, a great red dragon, strictly the same as in the Apocalypse biblical revelation. Clearly, not only does the Sumerian etymology contain meanings that are perfectly intertwined with some of the Egyptian hieroglyphic etymology, but we are also at the very heart of one of the pure biblical symbolic representations of Satan. A brief interim report on Sumerian and hieroglyphic etymology. From the outset, this twofold etymological analysis makes it clear that it is certainly not in Greek, Latin, or any other language that we will find the keys to the sacred mysteries, but in the much more ancient languages of Sumerian and hieroglyphic. By the way, while we're on the subject, and by way of further proof, if you want to understand the hidden meaning of the Greek word Titan, you won't have to turn to Greek either. Etymology of Titan. Egyptian hieroglyphic etymology: a transgressor, an attacker, a deceiver, someone who misleads, leads astray. These are the meanings of the logogram Thi. T is a sovereign, a monarch. TT means to trample, crush, trample underfoot. Tit is a pestle. The words conjure up an image identical to the one we saw in the analysis of Satan. In Sumerian, Tai can also convey the idea of an attacker. Finally, here is what A. Hislop has to say about Titan. Titan is precisely the Chaldean form of Shaitan, the very name by which Satan was referred to from time immemorial by the devil worshippers in Kurdistan. And from Armenia or Kurdistan, this cult of the devil symbolized in the Chaldean mysteries came to Asia Minor, and from there to Etruria and Rome. There is therefore no doubt that Titan, in pagan belief, was identical to the dragon or Satan. In the mysteries, as we have seen, an important change took place as soon as everything was prepared to allow it. First of all, Tammuz was worshipped as the one who crushes the head of the serpent, thus showing that he was the announced destroyer of Satan's kingdom. Then the dragon himself, or Satan, was given a certain appearance of worship to console him, the pagans said, for the loss of his power, and to prevent him from harming them. And finally the dragon, or Tatan, or Satan, became the supreme object of worship. The Titania, or Titan rites, occupied an important place in the Egyptian mysteries, and also in those of Greece. A. Hislop also gives us the following etymological indication of the meaning of the Chaldean tit when he discusses the Chaldean etymology of Tithonius, Aurora's husband, Tithonus, he who kindles the light or sets on fire with the associated note, from tzet or tzit, to kindle or set on fire, in Chaldean tit, and thon, to give. This explanation ties in with what we saw in the Egyptian etymology of Satan with the logogram stii meaning to kindle and sta, to heat, to kindle as the root of his name. Report. After this analysis of the names Satan and Titan, we now understand that the mysteries sacred by his name, Setien, are unquestionably closely associated with him. We also understand, I think, that there is something odd, to say the least, about his name being so extraordinarily explicit in each of these two languages. So, what is all this hiding under a bushel? To use Champollion's expression, does this mean, as I'm already hearing from here, that the Genesis story will turn out to be no more than a more recent mythological tale of Egyptian inspiration? Or Sumerian? As I also often read here and there in all sorts of publications or websites that are detractors of the biblical account, whether archaeological researchers or, at the other end of the spectrum, supporters of Zecharia Sitchin's theses, for example, which invoke the Anunnaki gods as being at the origin of mankind. Even if this is not the aim of Volume 2, which is simply to set out the historical truth, one of its consequences will be to totally and definitively invalidate one side or the other across the whole spectrum of this biblical revisionism. It is, of course, perfectly within your rights to adhere to one of these positions for the time being. But to be sure, or not, to have a clear picture, you will not have to be satisfied with superficial observations or assertions or with reading their writings. But you will have to dive with me into the depths of the past, into the etymology of these languages, and everything they have to tell us. And you'll see just how incredible the result is, and how merciless the outcome is for all these theories. I'm Yvar Bregeant, the author of the literary series entitled The True History of the Religions of Mankind. This video is taken from Book 2 of my Volume 2, entitled From God to the Creation of Adam. You can buy it at the link I gave you in the comments section. To support me in disseminating my research, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and my Facebook page.